maintained. I think they just passed this last budget. I would have changed a few things in it, but I think you could be more. Well, I've studied what I've done. I've been in business, like I say, I've built houses and developed construction for many, many years. And you can streamline things. You can contract out some things. You don't want to eliminate any county employees, but when you have to add employees, sometimes you're growing. You know, when you're growing, you got to add more employees. I think you can subcontract out some things and save you on your insurance and save you on some of your debt or actually your expense. So, the other way, like I say, you know, Eric alluded earlier, he's for the user fees on the dead animal pickup. I don't know if y'all realize that when you talk about you got one of them things up here when you do it. I think that's the but in reality, he was talking about those dead animal pickup earlier. He was talking about revenue. And he said he's a fee service type guy. So I don't know if y'all caught that or not. You know, he actually said he wants to raise fees on people to do that, but that's kind of the way I took it sitting here. I just thought I'd bring that up. Everybody can look at that. I think we can probably merge a few departments and pull our resources together, different departments, and maybe contract as many things out as we can. You know, I know the budget's always tight, and it should be tight when you use the taxpayers' money. You shouldn't be flush with money. But you got much money laying around, I've been there. Somebody's going to find a way to spend it. So I just think we've got to be frugal of what we got, and hopefully the state is going to kick in more money in these jail. The jail and ambulance is a big thing. It's a big drain, no doubt about it. And I think the state, you know, they've got a lot of, you know, the Republicans taking over the state party, and their budget's a lot stronger than it was. They got about $1 million in the balanced revenue in the last few years, so they've done a really good job up there. And I think you're going to see more programs come down to the counties with that Republican leadership to help us on these jails and ambulances, because they see the need. So I just want to let y'all know that.
Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Shelburne. I'll repeat questions in a few moments because of that again. What are your ideals for new revenue streams to increase fiscal court's budget?
Well, like I said before, you know, I'm a very conservative person. I have to operate. Me and my wife, we run a small business. We run a household. We do our best for what we got. We're blessed. There's no doubt about it. But we have to operate within the parameters of our budget. And I think that's important as an ex-judge executive to be responsible with fiscal dollars. I can't spend my personal money recklessly. I'm sure not going to spend other people's money recklessly. You know, it's a little bit scary to hear Timmy talk about consolidating positions and consolidating possibly engineers. You know, I think it kind of shows really just how out of touch he really is, knowing that it's been 17 years since, is it 17 years since you served him?
It's been about 10, 11.
15, 12, something. At any rate, before the internet. At any rate, you know, I'm thinking right now that you start consolidating these positions, you could actually, you could pull a cornerstone out of the foundation of our employees, because I know them personally, I know the jobs that they do, and it's all tough. Things have grown a lot in the past 10 or 15 years. There's been a lot of changes. You know, it's important that right now we're fortunate enough, we're able to operate with the 4% compensating rate. And I think as long as you spend money responsibly and you look at things objectively, we can still accomplish that. Now, if there ever was a time that we have to look at those different revenue streams, that's going to have to be something fiscal court's going to have to look together at. We've got 5 magistrates we have to work with. And those 5 magistrates are important keys to how this county operates. And I look forward to going with every one of my magistrates, to sit down with them, to us coming together and finding solutions to all those problems. But right now, the county's in decent shape. We get about $343,000 worth of slush that we're able to transfer from year to year. And, you know, that helps offset any big costs that may come in. I mean, it's important that you have that.
You, Mr. Shelburne. The next question is, what are your thoughts on self-imposed term limits or term limits overall?
Well, there's a couple of different mindsets that goes to that, right? Mitch McConnell sends the voters off the term limit. And I've heard Dean say that before. I personally, I agree with it. I agree with a certain amount of term limits. I think that it puts new ideas, fresh faces into the mix. I think that, it's important that we have those fresh ideas, which is why, I hope that when you go to that ballot box in November, you realize I'm that guy. I'm not part of the old Bill Boys Club like Timmy was back in the day. I'm here for Nelson Countyans, and I do believe the term limits are a positive thing.
Oh, Lord. Well, let's talk about one thing you said, working with the magistrates. I've had a record back when I was a magistrate, and I went to work with Senator Dan Kelly to bring in county water. They didn't call the county judge, they called Tim Hutchins. Got a $2 million grant, Bernard Ice, Joey Mauser, Amos Scritton, Raymond Greer. I had water in the 4th district all over. One little place that needed about a couple $100,000 because we got North Nelson Water District there. They had done a great job. There's a lot of places in the county that needed it. I called all my fellow magistrates and they worked and called Frankfurt and we got that $2 million grant. So you definitely got to work with the other magistrates to get things done because it is a county. I mean, it's not just one district. So let's talk about consolidating engineers. I don't know where Eric's talking about consolidating. I said you could consolidate some jobs with new growth when you got to add on people. You can bring them in and start contracting some those positions out, not eliminating any jobs. We're short-handed as it is, but I guess you've been talking about the consolidating engineers because you didn't hear me say that. So the other thing is, when he was talking about when I was up there all those years working with the masters, I mean, that's this thing about the taxes, but I mean, they've done a pretty good job with the budget. There's no doubt about that, and I think you cannot continue to raise these the taxes, and it's going to be tough on us. It's going to be tough on us. What was the question? I didn't get the question.
Term limits.
Term limits. Yeah, that's right. He was. There's a lot of debate about that back and forth. I was a magistrate. I'm only one that stepped out at 17 years and decided not to run anymore. And I think you do stay in too long at any position. Some of these places, it takes a few years to learn everything. He's still learning. He's a newbie. He's only been there 3 years. He's still got a lot to learn. I was in there 17 years. So you get up there and you do these, but you get in there too long, and like that last, I was four terms, I think you get a little stale and you get new ideas and new blood and new energies. Yes, sir.
Okay, we're going to ask just a few more questions. We're getting near the end. The next one would go first to you, Mr. Hutchins. And Farm Bureau obviously is an agricultural organization, so a question we have is, do you believe agriculture in Nelson County is of significant importance, and why?
Well, I think that when anybody says it's not, you might go to oversee whatever the name is in New York, but she might say it's not. She don't even think we should have cattle. I don't think so. That's some of the liberal left Democratic policies that they're trying to put in Washington. It's going to come all the way down the line if you're not careful. So we got to be real careful of that. I farmed all my life. I know how important it is. Way back in the day when I was my dad, way back there, everybody raised tobacco, and that's how they paid their taxes and the farm payments. And you had to, you get out next year, you had to put out you might have to put out some extra tobacco, get an extra cattle or whatever. I raise peppers because I need to make a living. So the agricultural community is no doubt, very important. It's probably the most important thing in the country, in the world, really. So, that's how you survive. So without that, that's what I say. I've talked to some people just like on my agenda when I become county judge. I want to have on my agenda maybe quarterly or maybe every couple of years. I want to have an ag committee to come in and give an update to the fiscal court. I like to have the Farm Bureau come in and give an update to the fiscal court, the Cattlemen's Association. I'll talk to all these different committees like the 4-H Club. You get all that presence and you work with all these different groups as the fiscal court. When you come to the meetings, you get a lot of TV coverage, a lot of press, and it educates people that know what's going on in the community. But it's hard for the 4-H group that hit the press and have a big news story because the press is not there. So I want to invite them all into the fiscal courtroom, and, you know, these 15, 20-minute meetings that they have early, we're going to make them at least an hour so we can get up and talk about some things and have a lot of these private clubs come in and see what's important to the community, and agriculture is one of the big ones also. So the answer is I support it 110%.
Can you repeat the question? Okay. Do you believe that agriculture in Nelson County is of significant importance, and why?
Agriculture is one of the staples, probably the biggest industry staple in Nelson County. I'd say most folks my age and older, have had a lot of experience working on farms or doing farm work. And like I said before, there is no more difficult work than farm work. But when I think about agricultural industry and the way that it coincides with, what the county does and does not do, there's one thing that I've noticed, and I've gotten some calls about this, which makes me think about it. A lot of times when we do some extra road work or at the state or the county level, they don't seem to want to coordinate with the farmer. It seems like to me that when they put those S-curves in down there in Bloomfield, which we all of us did down through there, went good for a long time, it was right during crop season. Nobody asked those farmers, which is an industry. I'm just going to tell you right now, when I worked as a power lineman, if I shut off the power to a factory without telling them about it, we were going to have problems. Same issue, I've seen it 2 or 3 times. I think that we really need to stay in touch with our agricultural industry. It's a huge part of who we are as Nelson County. I'm proud of that. I'm proud to have worked as much as I did in farm work. I'm proud of my dad.
Thank you very much. Mr. Shelburne, you will be the first person to answer this next question. Will you continue efforts to obtain water from the Louisville Water Company?
I'm proud to support that. We were fortunate, thank God, we got ARPA money, American Rescue Act funds. And, we produce for the city of Bardstown about 4 million gallons of water a day. And I used to live over on Bellwood Road, and I'm just going to tell you folks, when I drive to work, I drive back there on Ben Irvin. There'll be times when I look across that lake and I think, good Lord, do we have enough water to sustain us? It was a serious problem. And now with our industry, the way that it's grown here in Nelson County, the bourbon industry uses a lot of water. All of our industry uses a lot of water. And with those ARPA funds, we were able to go in collaboration with the city of Bardstown and with Northeast Nelson to bring a water main that's going to provide another 4 million gallons of capacity to sustain Nelson County in the future. It's such an important project. I'm so glad to be a part of that. I'm also glad to be a part of supporting, which is part of my platform, is to try to provide hardwired internet for everybody that lives in Nelson County that wants to hook onto it. I think at this time, even if you think about the agriculture, I have friends that are like family that lives at the end of Hunt Ridge. It's a necessary component of their farming capacity. It's so important. And what's difficult is we can't, it's basically, it's a business. So the rural areas get left out because there's not quite as much customers on that line to pay for it. But with these ARPA funds, and I think we really need a responsible person that can establish and maintain good relationships and work together with City of Bardstown and our other local government partners to push Nelson County into the future, and I'm definitely the person for that job.
Glad you brought that water thing up because it was Cole Sissel, I think he's here somewhere. He's the manager of North Nelson Water District now. Steve Algar was back in my time, and North Nelson Water District is in the 4th district, which I represented as an magistrate on the fiscal court. My dad and a lot of those people in those different areas, they raised money, they went out and knocked on doors, and people donated money and helped get that started way back in the day, and then now they come to North Nelson Water District, and they've done a tremendous job. So when I was a magistrate back in the day, North Nelson actually tapped into Louisville water. And I think now today they've got 2 lines tied into low water that they can actually turn off the master meters. And we had this little problem in the city of Boston a couple years ago. They can actually serve that whole area with low water, which takes a tremendous amount of pressure off the city of Bardstown. So low water line. Myself, Steve Algar was the manager at the time, and Mr. Joe Lowry was on the board. We went to Louisville, met with the Louisville Water Company, and it was very strong. They want to get water out to rural areas. We met with them. And we got that process going and ended up putting a 16-inch line, I think, all the way down to 4 Roses. And that's what North Nelson tapped over that. And that's when they could really serve that area of water. At that time, I went and met with the city of Bardstown and Mr. Larry Hamilton. He was the engineer, and he did not want to do it. We tried, in the low water, we tried hard to get a 24-inch line or a 32-inch line or whatever to run it all the way to Bardstown at that time, and they would not entertain it. So while those things in effect now in place, and I'm glad y'all supported it, that's one thing we'll definitely agree on. But if we didn't get that process started and get that line run all the way down to 4 Roses back, probably about 13 years ago, we put the new tank down on Bernheim, down in that area to serve that, and it's really going to be good for this community. It's probably one of the most important things that happened in the community. I'm glad to be a part of that. Got it started.
Thank you. We'll have our last question. When this question is over with, then we will move into closing statements. And as we said earlier, Mr. Hutchins spoke first, and you'll speak last. Mr. Shelburne spoke last for an open statement, so he'll have the first closing statement here in just a moment. The last question was talked about just a moment ago, but Kentucky Farm Bureau, as well as our county farm bureaus, have been very active to try to get rural broadband so that farmers and folks in rural Kentucky have the same access to what is important in today's world as people in the cities. So the question, this is our last question, is will you continue efforts to get broadband to the underserved areas of the county and how?
You know, I've actually, even before ARPA funding got into place, I've got really good established relationships with, the administration and the workers of the city of Bardstown. So as magistrate, I was able to really work with those guys to bring hardwired internet right to my district. I got to serve Gates Cunningham. I got to serve Dugan Lane. I got to serve 1066. I mean, those were big projects. Han Ridge. I mean, they were huge. Now we have this opportunity. It's one-pot funding of ARPA funds. This gives us the tremendous ability to be able to reach our partners in the rural communities and all the farmers that actually going to depend on this kind of technology in the future. One thing I have to go back on to, a lot of times my opponent likes to take credit for things that he has nothing to do with. For instance, and here's the thing, I don't want to discredit his service. God bless anybody who steps into this role as magistrate. It takes a lot of work, and it takes a lot of determination. You're not doing it for the money, and I appreciate your service, Timmy. But the fact is, Bardstown and Louisville couldn't combine water systems till just here recently. And the fact of the matter is, we used to treat our water here in Bardstown with chlorine. Well, Bardstown water uses chloramine. Those two elements do not mix. It causes toxic chemicals. Until like 2 or 3 years ago, we couldn't combine our water systems. And another thing, we talked a little bit about upgrading the road standards. My opponent said it costs $10,000 more to upgrade the road standards. That's not true. It costs a house about $1,000 more on the cost of the house. The developer pays for it. And the thing about that road standard is, when those road failures started happening under the old standard, guess who paid for it? County taxpayer money paid for it. We get $120,000 worth of blacktop per magisterial district per year. That money would have to be spent on repairs of subdivisions that went in his district within 2 years' time. That road should last a whole lot longer than that.
Thank you. I'll repeat the last question here. Will you continue efforts to get broadband to the underserved areas of the county and how?
Yes, sir. It's very important. I hear people talk about it all the time. The younger generation especially is coming in, and after the pandemic, there's more and more people working from home. So it's very important. You got to do more work with the city of Bardstown and these agencies. And Kentucky Net started under Steve Bashir Sr. The Kentucky Net spent I think it's 50, 60 millions of dollars of taxpayers' money. They're going to do internet and tie all the different agencies together all over the state. And it flunked, it failed, it cost the taxpayers money. It's another big deal that they did up there that cost taxpayers a ton of money that we got zero out of. So the internet is very, very important. You know, if they got the federal money, state money, it's a good thing, but it does take a lot of money to do it. It's all about supply and demand. Can you make any money? Put the internet in. I'm 100% in favor of putting the internet everywhere I can get it. Going back to what he said about the low water, I think that's inaccurate, because if that's the case, Mr. Shelburne, the Old Nelson Water District was getting water from the city of Bardstown, and for many, many years, and when they tied that water line in with low water, somewhere it had to commingle, or they got master meters. And you can put master meters in. When you get this line from low water, I gotta tell this to Mr. Hamilton, you don't have to treat that water. That water is already treated. Just turn on the valve and let it run. Now you got master meters all over. I don't know if you know what a master meter is, that you can separate those waters very easily, and they do it everywhere. So that's one thing. And this $10,000 on the road, you didn't understand what I was talking about. I mean, that's just because you wasn't around back to that time. But that was a 2-acre lot deal. I wasn't talking about the road standards. When they tried to raise a 2-acre minimum lot instead of 6,900s. Because you could put 20 lots on the road, or you're going to get down to 10 lots on the road. And you do the simple math. It was $10,000. Now, what you're talking about, they raised the standards about building the roads. That happened about 3 years ago. That was it's probably about $2,000 a today's time, what it costs the developers. It costs you, the taxpayers, and your kids buying the lots. But that was a calculated statement that you said. That was 2 different issues, just to let you know.
That concludes our measure to candidate. Now we're going to have our closing statements. There's going to be 3 minutes. Each candidate has 3 minutes, just like what we've done through this entire time. Mr. James is going to show 30 seconds when that's left, 2.5 minutes into it, and then he'll show time, and we would ask that you close those statements. And then both candidates will be here if you'd like to talk with them afterwards. And with that, Mr. Shelburne, you go first.
Okay, once again, I would like to thank Farm Bureau, and I would like to thank everyone that came out to this event today. I can't believe you guys are still sitting here through this. This is time we'll never give back, right? But it shows how much that it means to you and how critical this election is. I just want to tell everybody that I just appreciate the fact that you're here. I appreciate any support that I've gotten and garnered. This has been a fantastic journey for me running for this position. I just want folks to know what I'm here for. And I'm here for you. I'm here for Nelson County. This was a tough decision for me to run for this. And at the time, I had 3 options when I decided to run for this. One of them was to stay running for magistrate. One of them was to try to step up where Dean was coming out. And one of them was to get Plum out of it and just do service work. But I felt that it was critically important that the next judge executive be the type of person that can be the person that has relationships, maintain relationships, and work hard for the people of Nelson County. I would just like to ask that anyone that's here, please do your research on these candidates. My data is accurate, and you'll learn between the 2 candidates whose motivations are correct. This is going to be one of the most critical elections Nelson County has seen in 30 years. We've had a judge executive for the past 30 years that's been able to maintain and keep things on an even keel. It's so important that we get the right person in there for this job, for Nelson County's future. I ask that you go on my Facebook page, that you like to follow it. I get on there and I try to keep things updated. I try to keep people informed. And I just want you all to know I'm here for you, and thank you very much.
Eric, good luck. I do take one thing a little personal. You said motivation for the right reasons. When you check out the candidates, I would hope that both of us doing it for the right reasons. And I respect you, and I think Eric's a good guy. I don't have no problem with him at all. We just agree over some of the policy. I think he's a good man. So I'm going to put that out straight. I'll just tell you the facts. Just like I did in the primary, I had the facts. I've got 17 years experience as a magistrate, 25 to 28 years experience in construction, development, and building, 40 years of business as a store owner. Raised on a farm and farmed my entire adult life. Only farmer that's been in this race. So I'm giving you the facts. I'm not discrediting my opponent at all. I've got more experience than most people combined. Because I've done it and been out there and I've had hundreds and hundreds of employees, women, all kinds of men, women, and I've had some battles. I mean, you deal with people every day, and this last few years it's been awful, it's been tough. You got to be careful of everything you do. So I've been very blessed and very fortunate. I'm a strong Catholic. I've been involved in St. Gary's Church my entire life, still been under administration and all these different, all the different churches, not just Catholic churches. They call me all the time. I try to help everybody in the community involved in sports. I coached for 16, 17 years and all over the state and high school and everything too. So I discredit anybody. I'm just telling you the facts. So that's my background, and I think I got more experience working with people, the magistrates and the judges and everything else. I'm Indian, got a long time on fiscal court. We disagree on some things in the last few years, and that's fine. We disagree over it and still get along. I consider him a friend of mine. One thing I would do when I get elected, I told you earlier, on this agenda, I will make sure the Farm Bureau is on this agenda, these associates on the agenda, the 4-H is on the agenda. I want to work with the cities of Fairfield, Bloomfield, Chaplin, New Haven, and I want to have some, well, I say co-mingle meetings with all these other cities. We did it before when I was as magistrate. I haven't seen that happen for many years. We've got to keep up with what's going on with everybody else in the community, and they're very important in this community, not just the city of Bardstown, but all the cities. So I want to have some co-mingle meetings with them, have them on the agenda, and all these other private committees, and I say all these committees, and have them on the agenda, not every week, but maybe quarterly or, from time to time, so it gets the community involved and know what's going on. There's a lot of good nonprofit organizations out here that nobody knows anything about. I was talking to the extension office out here and the homemakers, and people don't even know about it. So you can't get involved if you know anything about it. I can't read that, that's upside down, sir. I said 60 seconds. So, I've been involved on whatever, and I appreciate again the Cattlemen's and the Farm Bureau and everybody, extension officer for having this. I think it's good. It's very, very important. Eric said you don't want to sit here and listen to stuff. I think more people need to listen to it. I'd like to see a room full of people out here, because most people don't get involved until it's after the fact. So, thank you for everything and having this. And I hope I can get y'all support for anything. You know where I'm at.
Let's give both of our candidates. As I said at the beginning, Kentucky Farm Bureau and County Farm Bureaus do not endorse candidates, but one thing we would hope everybody does, and that's vote. Thank you for being here. Have a great day.